Good morning. Welcome to Workforce Skills with John Morse. Another Monday morning out here in Phoenix, Arizona. Guys, I just want to thank you for subscribing, liking, just follow me. If this is something that you really get something out of, please follow me. Please like and subscribe. It really helps us with our viewers to know where you're coming from. We watch the analytics. We see who's watching us, so we really appreciate your interest out there. I want to give a shout out to a couple people in my current vocational class that I'm doing at New Freedom. They've been watching these podcasts. They've been following them. It's been really motivating for them. It helps them. So it's interesting because a couple of them had come up to me and they're like, John, I want to buy your book. I want to get it off Amazon 10 minutes early. I believe in everything you're teaching me. I want to change my life. I want to do something better. I'm finally acting like an adult. I'm finally pulling my head out and I'm doing the right thing. I'm focused. I'm trying to stay sober. I don't want to get locked up again. I'm doing everything my probation officer tells me. I'm following the program, the steps and the guidelines that I'm being given through this program. And it's a 90-day program that they're in. And a lot of them take this very, very serious. Now, that's not to say some people are going to fall backwards and end up back on the streets or get locked up again. That it happens. People make mistakes. But the majority of these men and women, they are, leaps and bounds. They are becoming so successful. I love watching them and hearing their stories. And, here I am. I'm years into this. I've got a couple of guys I'm looking back 3 years ago when they first came out of my class. And it's amazing the difference, the changes in their lives that it's made and where they're at today from where they've come from. I meet a lot of men and women the day they walk out of prison or the day they walk out of rehab or off the streets and into this program. And their mindset and where they're at then compared to where they're at 30, 60, and 90 days in, and even 6 months after the program, after their 90 days, where they're at, what they've accomplished, who they're becoming. They're becoming a new person. It's an honor and a privilege to watch this change in many people and the difference that it's making in society and the difference in their own lives, the difference that it's making in their families' lives and their children. Some of these people have been disassociated from their family, their kids. They've had zero contact with them. And because of the change and because of them trying to do the right thing and their success, they're now having that opportunity to reconnect with family that they've never had a connection with before, or there was one there, but they lost it because of the poor choices that they made. They're now making the right decisions. They're making the right decisions for themselves and where they want to be and what they need to do in their lives. It's some people say, well, it's easy. It's, you just go out and you work, you pay your bills, you do your thing. But if that's all you know, yes, it's easy. But when you've never done that, when you've never had the opportunity to have that and to go out and have a job, to support your family, support your kids, and you've made the wrong choices for as long as you can remember, it's a little bit different. It's interesting. One of my guys that works for me, we had an old company truck that, I maybe worth $1,000 on if I traded in or sold it. And so gave it to one of my guys. He needed it for about a month until he got his vehicle situation taken care of. And so I basically gave it to him. I signed it over. And then he took it upon himself to one of the other guys to sign it over to a newer guy that came out of our program who's been with us for a little over 7-8 months now. And it was interesting. He called me up yesterday. He's like, John, I was at this place. I left because I felt like insurance is too much. And they wanted $150 a month for insurance. And, that's just the bare minimum what the state requires for liability. And I'm like, okay, what's the other prices you've gotten? And a couple other guys in the room, they told me, well, I'm paying $180. I'm paying this. And I'm like, hey, that's cheaper than anybody else is getting. Go for it. And so he ended up getting insurance on it. Now he's got a vehicle. Didn't have to pay a dime for this vehicle. It was pretty much given to him through the people in the company. And all he has to do is pay for the insurance. But the difference that it's making for him now is he's got a truck with a ladder rack. He's now driving 3 other people to work that live in the halfway houses. He's helping them. He's paying it forward because that's what was done for him. It's funny how this works because we help all these men and women. We give them a foot in the door and we push them, and it's not a handout. It is a hand up, and they've got to be willing to try. But we put a lot of things in place to help them become successful. And as they do this, the ones that continue, the ones that are here many, many months later or years later, it amazes me how much and how willing they are now to give back and help the next group that comes out. It's can't even call it the next generation. It's just because it's an ongoing thing. It's continual. It never changes. But what I do see is the impact that it's making on their lives and their families' lives. When I hear about this guy in the truck and all of a sudden he's like, John, I got to hang out with my kids over the weekend. I'm reconnecting. Don't have a great relationship with the ex, their mom, but it's really working with the kids. And now their mother's seeing that I'm a changed person. I'm different. They want us around. Now they want to be around the kids. The families want them around. And it's funny because even last night in class when I was teaching, and I'll be teaching again tonight, one thing we talk about in there is how many people in here that your family, your friends are watching you and waiting and thinking, man, is he going to make it this time? Is she going to make it this time? All right. How many times have they tried? All right. Let's see if they make it this time. They're just watching, waiting to see if you're going to make it or if you're going to fail. And it's difficult and it's hard to stay focused because you want to make the change. You want them to see it because within yourself, you believe you're making a change. But for some people out there, the damage has been so hurtful. We've done so much wrong to the people we love the most. And it's so easy to hurt them because they're the ones closest to us. They're the ones we're the most comfortable with. So they're the ones that they're watching us. They're waiting to see if we're going to make it or not. Now, we might think after 30 days we're good, 60 days we're good, 90 days we're good. But for them, it might be 6 months. It might be a year. It might take a little bit longer for them to realize and see that, oh, he's really changing. She's really changing. They're making a difference in their lives. They're starting to accept it, but it's going to take time. It's not something that just happens overnight. You know, we want to impress the family. We want them to believe what we're doing is perfect. You know, I was a terrible child. I was in trouble. I think the first time I got arrested, I was 13 years old. It just goes on and on from there. And I look at my childhood and I don't blame my parents for it. I feel, if anything, I feel sorry for my mother having to put up with me. I look at all the stuff, all the wrong that I did and all the stuff she doesn't even know that I did. And what would have changed me? What would have made me a better person? And I think over time, I did so much damage and so much wrong that it took a lot of years before she realized that I was a changed person, that I had grown up and I was acting like an adult finally. And it takes time. And even in my adult life and with my addiction and my other problems, my mom was always there. And I remember she came to the office one time and I'm out back early in the morning. Here I am running a business and I'm out back. I think it's maybe 7, 8 o'clock in the morning and I've got a drink in my hand. Now it's no one could tell what it was, but they could tell. And it's funny how we think we're hiding it from everybody. I thought I was hiding my addiction. I was hiding what I was doing from everybody. But the truth be told, everybody around me knew what I was doing. They could see exactly what was happening. I had nobody fooled. But yet in our minds, we think everybody's fooled and they don't know what's going on. But they do. And so as time goes on and we start to heal and we start to correct ourselves and get back on the right path, it's going to take a longer time for the people that were closest to us to realize that, hey, they are making a change. It is happening. There is a difference, but it will happen in time. The biggest thing we have to do is we've got to be there for them, or we've got to show them. Our actions will speak louder than words. We can't just tell them, hey, I'm doing this, here's what I'm doing, because they hear that all the time. And at some point they look at it and it's probably just a bunch of BS to them. They've heard the same story over and over and over, but nothing's changing. They have to see the change. They have to experience it. They have to watch it. You telling them isn't going to do a bit of difference. It's not going to do you any good to sit there and tell them, hey, here's what I'm doing. Here's the changes. It's okay to share that with them, but don't expect them, oh, jump for joy and clap their hands. Yes, you're doing great. Come back to the family and give you a big hug and welcome you in. It might take a little bit longer. It might take a little bit more than that. And you have to accept that. That's just the reality of what you're going through and what's happening. I really struggle sometimes when I watch the men and women going through the program And you can tell the ones that are taking it serious. You can also tell the ones that are just going through the motions. At least I can. I've seen enough. I've been around it long enough to tell who's going through the motions and who's actually taking it serious. And even the ones that take it serious, there's still a chance that they could falter, they could fall backwards, end up back on the streets, end up back where they're at. But the goal is to try to get everybody to find that right path, to get down the right direction that we're trying to lead them and make a change in their lives. I want to see the change. I believe in them. It's difficult because I remember some of our very first classes, and I'm teaching these men and women, and I remember the very first one that failed. And when I say failed, they didn't fail the class. They failed themselves, ended up back on the streets, ended up using, and disappeared from the program. And I didn't know where they were. I didn't know what happened. And it was a little tough on me. And then the next one happened. Then another one happened. It's going to happen. We have to realize we can't save everybody. Right now, we're looking for someone to come in and help us with the vocational program. We're looking for a new instructor that can help with the hands-on painting, with the hands-on with teaching the painting, and be in the classes when I'm teaching classes on Monday and Tuesday nights, and taking the clinical notes. Thought we found somebody, great guy, union painter, has some experience, but something happened during the onboarding process with human resources with the company, and he only did half the stuff and kind of went dark on us and disappeared. You know, we're really looking for somebody that can step in and be a part of this program. We need the help, and we need somebody that wants to do it for the right reasons. You can't just come in here and say, okay, I'm going to come in here. I'm going to help teach these guys, get them back on track. I need the job. I know how to paint. It's got to be from the heart. It takes a special person to be able to walk in here and do what we do on a day-to-day basis. You know, what we're looking for is someone that can work 4 10s. It's going to be a Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday kind of a gig. And you're going to be working hands-on. You're going to be side by side with a lot of these people that are in the program. We call them members where we're at. So you're going to be side by side with the members. You're going to be teaching them how to paint. One new thing I'm really excited. We just hired an HVAC instructor, so we're going to be starting that course. So we're adding more to this program, and the idea is to eventually add enough trades to where we could literally build our own house with the men and women that go through our vocational program. That would be the final goal for us, to eventually build a house somehow, some way, with just the people that came through our vocational program. We're talking about men and women that society gave up on, and making a difference and making a change in this world. That's the goal. That's the direction we're heading. It doesn't happen overnight, and this has been years in the making, and it's going to continue for the years. I don't know where this stops. It's like one time someone asked me with my business, well, John, how big do you want to get? Thought about it for a minute. I said, I don't know. I'll let you know when I get there. I still don't know where there is. I have an idea, the goal that I want to get. It's the same with the vocational program. I don't know where this ends, because at the end of the day, there's always somebody else that needs help. There's always somebody else that we can get back on track, teach how to have a job. It's like tonight's class. And it might sound a little corny, but there's 2 parts to tonight's class. The first one's hygiene. And you might think, okay, why are you talking about hygiene in class? Well, it's so simple. It's common sense. But believe it or not, it's something that has to be discussed. It's just part of the program. It's what we do. I want to make sure we go over every single detail within what it takes to be a good employee, to get out there and maintain a job. And part of that's hygiene, especially as a painter. If I'm working as a painter and I've got someone working for me, and 3 days later he's showing up and he still has paint in his fingernails and his beard from 3 days ago, I'm going to start to question, okay, why hasn't he cleaned? Why hasn't he showered? Typically, that's a sign that someone's going back to their old behavior, their old habits of using or not taking care of themselves like they should. So we do discuss that. The second half of tonight's class is budgeting. You would be amazed at how many men and women out there have never been taught to how to handle a budget, how to maintain or keep a bank statement on their money and what they need to spend on. I don't think we've taught our younger generation how to manage money and how to handle their finances. So when someone comes out, and We're talking about men and women. I've had people in their 60s that come out of prison that have never had a job in their life. They don't know how to manage money. And so we do a little budgeting course. Here's how much you're going to make a week. And we don't break it down to a month or a year. We break it down to the week, because a lot of these men and women are going to go live in a halfway house. The rent for that bed to stay there is $200 a week. Now, what's included in that? If, for example, we've got a couple houses that a bunch of our guys live in that work for us, that $200 a week, that covers their room. Typically, it's 2 people to a room, so you share a room with somebody. They're single man beds, and that includes all your laundry detergent, all your coffee, all your toiletry items, as far as toilet paper and whatnot. The only thing you really have to take care of is food and any other expenses. So when we start talking about budgets, it's like, okay, you're getting out of here. The average person's going to start making $18 an hour. How much you're going to make a week? How much after taxes? Some of the men and women have never paid taxes in their life, and they don't understand that. So we have to start at the basics when it comes down to this. So we're talking about simple budgeting. $200 a week for rent. How much are you paying for food? What's left over? Do you have any fines that you got to pay from when you were locked up? Is there any restitution? What other bills do you have? How much does it cost to go out there and buy groceries? It surprises me that there's certain individuals that have been locked up for so long that they think a dozen eggs cost 49 cents. They just don't know. There's others that I remember a few years back, I think it was during COVID when we were doing the classes and we were talking about the price of everything. I think eggs went up to like $10 or $12 a dozen. And these men and women were shocked. They couldn't believe that. They'd never heard of such a thing. So it's just getting them ready to go out into the real world and become better members of society and teach them how to budget, teach them simple things like hygiene. It's basic common sense. But the one thing I've realized in teaching this class is common sense isn't common anymore. The majority of people don't have that. They don't think for themselves. They don't realize what they have to do out there to maintain a lifestyle and get to the next level. And it's not just getting out there and getting that job and maintaining it, making your $18 an hour, but how do we level up? How do we get to the next level? How do I get to $20 an hour? How do I get to 22, 24? How do I continue to grow and move forward? These are all things that are being discussed in the class. These are all things that are being taught to men and women that have never had this opportunity. Some of these people have never had a parent there to teach them the simple things of how to go into adulthood, how to budget, how to maintain an apartment. How do you pay your bills? I've got guys that are paying an electric bill and a cable bill that they've never paid in their entire life, and all of a sudden they have to figure this out. And it's a struggle. So to be able to teach them, to be able to guide them in this, that's part of what the budgeting class consists of. So as we're teaching the budgeting part, it's more than just that. They don't realize how much they're spending on cigarettes a week. They don't realize how much they're going to spend on food a week. They don't realize what it costs to take the bus or to Uber somewhere. And you can't make up for lost time. That's one thing we've realized over time with some of the individuals that come out of incarceration. They feel like they have to make up for lost time. That's not necessary. You have to start where you start. It doesn't matter whether you're 18 or whether you're 60 years old. You have to start at some point. And when you get out, when you're at that point, you just start and you move forward. You can't make up for that. You can't say, okay, well, I've never golfed. I got to go golfing. I got to go skiing. You're going to start spending all this money on all this extra stuff that's unnecessary because you feel like you got to cram it into such a short period of time. And I say this because I've seen this with certain individuals where they feel like they're making up for lost time, or they'll go out and in the first year, all of a sudden they've got 20 brand new pairs of shoes, Nikes, and everything else that they wanted just because they never had an opportunity to have it before. And now they have the money to do it. That's unnecessary. So that's why we go over the budgeting class. We talk about budgeting. We talk about financing. We talk about getting a secured credit card. We talk about bank accounts. Some of them have never had that education. No one's ever taught them. Some of the individuals that we deal with, their parents were incarcerated. Their parents were drug addicts. No one has ever been there to teach these things. So as we're continuing with this program and we're growing, we are looking for someone to step in and help with the paint class. So if anybody out there is listening to this, or you know somebody in the Phoenix area, or this is something that you feel your heart really leads you to, that you want to be a part of, you're more than welcome to reach out to us, and we'll see if we can't make something happen and set you up for an interview. But like I said, we just hired someone for HVAC. We're going to be starting that class. This is growing. There's opportunities. The opportunities are there for individuals who are coming out, because years ago, the one question that most people have when they come out of these situations is, well, nobody's going to hire me, and where am I going to live? So we're changing that narrative. We're fixing that. We're making sure they have a safe place to live. We're making sure that they're getting jobs. And if we can guarantee that and maintain that, then the odds of them being successful are 10 times greater than them backsliding, going back to that old behavior and that old life. That's what we don't want to see. So we're trying to get them on the right path in the right direction of where they need to be. But the other thing, as time continues, and let's say we've got men and women working for us, and now they've been working for us for a couple of years, one thing we start to notice is I think people become relaxed. They become complacent. One thing we're dealing with in the company right now, and this is going to go a little bit off track of some of the other stuff I've been talking about, but one thing we're dealing with right now is telling someone to do something a certain way. We have to paint this door a certain way. It's got to be prepped. It's got to be sanded, wiped down, and so on. What happens is we tell them, we teach them, they're getting paid by the hour. It doesn't matter if they knock it out in an hour or 2 hours. They still have to get that door done. It's got to be done right. I don't care. Now, I'm not going to say I don't care how much time it takes, because there is a certain amount of time that something should take, a reasonable amount. Now, if I give you a door to paint and we're charging $200 for that door, it shouldn't take you all day to paint that door. You should be able to knock it out in an hour or two. It's just that simple. But if we tell you to do it a certain way, and all of a sudden we notice, man, this guy's knocking these doors out in 30 minutes, I need to go back and check and make sure it's being done the right way. Because time and time again, we're finding as time goes on that I don't know why it's that mentality that goes through people's heads that, man, I'm going to do this faster. I'm going to knock this out, get this done, and get out of here. You are gaining nothing by that, especially if you're an hourly employee. Do it the right way. Make sure it's done right. I've got a couple of people that work for me. One of them's Barry. He's been with me for many, many years. He now works in the estimating department. This man, I tell you what, I can put him on task on anything. He's not the fastest guy, but I know for a fact I will never, ever have to go back on his work because it's done right. It's done the way it's supposed to be done. But time and time again, what we're finding right now is we're having to go back on people's work. We're having to go back and we're finding they did not do it the way we told them to. And the majority of these people don't even work for us anymore by this time. I don't know what it is to where some people have that mindset that, oh, I'm just going to get this done as quick as I can and move on to the next thing and get out of here today. That is not the way to do your job. The way to do your job is to do it the right way. Do it the way you were shown. Don't cut corners. There's no reason for it. That's why we definitely don't pay piecework, because that's one thing I see with piece employees that get paid by the job is they rush through it, they cut corners, and things aren't done properly. And by the time that the company has to go back and fix it or deal with whatever failure that's happening on the project, these people are so long gone, they're not even a part of the company anymore. We have this situation happen time and time again. There's multiple situations in the last year that I can count that this has happened to us. We had a situation on a job site. We're supposed to paint these pipes. All of a sudden, we're finding out, man, the night crew is blowing them out faster than day crew. What's going on? Coming to find out, they weren't priming the pipes first. They were just painting them. They did themselves zero favors by doing this. There was no justice for this. There was no reason for it whatsoever. If they were trying to get things done faster and get things done quicker, all they did was cut themselves short of hours, because this job was going to be going on for many, many months, and it had to be done the right way. Long story short, a couple months later, we got some paint peeling on some of these pipes. We see it. That's how we found out we're having an issue. Now we're fixing it. It is going to cost more to fix this situation than it would have been to do it right the first time. And I don't know why that mindset or why that kind of stinking thinking goes through people as they're out there working. You've got to start to change that. Do it right the first time. Put the quality in. Why would you cut corners? It's funny because we look at construction from years ago, and I feel like construction was better back in the old days, and everything was level and it was plumb and everything was done the right way. And now it's like it's just faster, quicker, get in, get out, and nobody cares what it looks like. We got to stop thinking that way. We got to start taking more pride in what we're doing, more pride in our work, and focus on what's in front of us. Do it right. Do it the way it was meant to be done. I enjoy coming on here and talking with you guys, and sometimes I feel like it's my opportunity just to kind of vent. And, a couple things today I want to leave you with is, one, we definitely need help with our vocational program if anybody's interested out there and listening to this. And two, start doing your job the right way. Quit cutting corners. Quit trying to take the easy way out. Sometimes the best way is the hardest way. And at the end, you can look back and take pride in what you did and say, I did that. I completed it. It's going to last a lifetime. That's what I want. I want to drive by a place that I painted 10 years ago and look at that paint job and say, it's still lasting. It's still up there. I don't want to drive by it like I do a lot of properties out there. I'm like, man, I wonder who painted that. Man, that place was painted 2 years ago and the paint's already peeling off of it. I don't want to be known for that. I want to be known for the quality. I want to be known for the excellence. I want to know that we're doing it right, even when no one is watching. Once again, guys, thank you for joining me. Stay hungry.